Hey guys, and welcome back. So today we're going to chat about Final Fantasy 16, and yeah, you've probably seen a load of Final Fantasy 16 theory videos already. This isn't really a theory, this is just a comparison video, because that trailer was immense. I loved every second of that trailer. But there are people out there that are saying that the Final Fantasy 16 trailer just looks like a Witcher JRPG, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. But there are also people saying that it doesn't look like a Final Fantasy game whatsoever, and unfortunately I think that they are wrong. And this is my comparison video to show how Final Fantasy 16 definitely takes aspects from older games. So we're going to start off with the battle scene at the beginning of the trailer. So here we have the Final Fantasy 16 battle cutscene. And this one is a Final Fantasy 11 cutscene. I know that the characters are completely different because you have different races, but the whole gritty darkness battle war-torn scene is very, very similar. Okay, yeah, so I know that's not a perfect comparison, but as the video goes on, they will get better, I swear down. And next we have Titan and Shiva, and clearly these are Aeons or Icons or Summons or GFs or whatever you want to call them in previous games, and they have been around for a while, but for the purposes of this video, I don't want to put in too many reference pictures, so I'm going to stick to one or two per clip. So here we have Titan, and we also have Shiva from Final Fantasy 16. Then there's Titan from Final Fantasy 15. And Shiva from Final Fantasy 15 also.
O King of Kings, restore light unto the world.
Okay, so Titan and Shiva are very, very easy to make references to because they are reoccurring Final Fantasy characters. However, I've got a feeling I've seen that young boy before. Is he a red mage? And is his sister or friend a white mage? So this is a trailer in 16. And then you have a red mage from Final Fantasy 14, and you also have Luneth, a white mage from Final Fantasy 3. Next we have some fight scenes that may be very, very similar. So here we have a Malibro from Final Fantasy 16 and also a warp jump. And then we have a Malibro from Final Fantasy 15 and also Noctis warp jumping. So when I saw this lady I thought, wait, is that Y'shtola's outfit? I know it's not identical, but it looks kind of similar, right? Or is that just me? This is the lady from Final Fantasy 16, and I was like, wait, what? And here's Y'shtola from Final Fantasy 14. Now this is clearly a Dragoon. We've had Dragoon in many, many Final Fantasy games. The armour is identical to a lot of the older Final Fantasy games. The Dragoon armour just doesn't change. So here's the Final Fantasy 16 version of the Dragoon. And here is Final Fantasy 4's Dragoon Kane Highwind. Then we have Final Fantasy XIV's Dragoon. And then we get more summons that keep reoccurring in the Final Fantasy games, like Ifrit and Phoenix. Here is Final Fantasy 16's Icons, Ifrit and Phoenix, and here is Final Fantasy 14's Icons, Ifrit. Although I'm not going to put Phoenix in, because Phoenix is a different colour in Final Fantasy 14, so I'm going to use Final Fantasy 7's Phoenix just to show that Phoenix has been around for a while, and so has Ifrit. So there's a lot of references that I've definitely missed in this video. I just wanted to get my point across that this is very, very reminiscent of all the other Final Fantasy games, and a lot of people who are saying this does not look like a Final Fantasy game either has not played Final Fantasy 14 or hasn't played the older games. To me, it stands out as a Final Fantasy game, and not just because of the summons and because of the bosses. It looks very, very Final Fantasy-esque, especially with the outfits, the language. Everything about this is like, wow, what a shout out to the older Final Fantasy games, specifically the crystals, specifically like the icons, you've got the monsters, and also you have the different job classes. I'm pretty sure that young boy Joshua is going to be a red mage. I think his sister or his friend is a white mage. I think the main character is going to be a warrior or a paladin. There was definitely a dragoon in there. I see so many aspects of the older Final Fantasy games. And yes, you definitely get castles in the older Final Fantasy games. From 1 through to 6, they are completely reminiscent of this game, or this game is reminiscent of the older games. And what I want to say is I am using a lot of Final Fantasy 14 references, and I can see so many similarities between 14 and 16. And I think it's because Yoshi P is using his knowledge from 14 and taking it into 16. You can definitely see his style throughout the two games. Now, I know they don't look identical, nothing looks identical, however you can definitely see the similarities between the cut and the style of the clothes between Final Fantasy XIV and Final Fantasy XVI in some of these images. So I also forgot to show the references of chocobos from the older games, but I think everybody knows what chocobos look like anyway, and the fact that they are making crystals return just like they did in the older games. There's going to be crystals, it's going to be good. I really missed when crystals were a main storyline in the Final Fantasy games. So here are some Final Fantasy references towards crystals and chocobos. So here are some chocobo references. Chocobos are big birds, and yes, they were in the Final Fantasy 16 trailer, and yes, they come in loads of different colours in the older games too. And here are some pictures of crystals, not that you need to see them, but they are definitely in some of the older games. Heck, they're even in some of the newer games used as references where people turn into crystals. I'm very excited to see that they are definitely returning to their roots though with the crystals. So that's pretty much all the references I'm going to make. I could make a lot more references, but the video would be like an hour long if I was to nitpick every single detail what makes it a Final Fantasy video. And I'm really sorry for those of you who are massive Final Fantasy fans and like, yeah, I seen this straight away, I knew that reference, I knew this reference. But this video is more aimed towards the people who are saying that this is not reminiscent of any Final Fantasy and that it is a straight Witcher rip-off game. And I don't see it. I can kind of see the similarities between Witcher and Final Fantasy, but is definitely a calling to the older Final Fantasy games and especially Final Fantasy XIV. And again, I think that's just because it has the same producer, Yoshi P. So I'm kind of expecting great things from this game, and it is 100% a callback to the older Final Fantasies. So if you have any other information about this game, please let me know because I absolutely love talking about Final Fantasy games. So that's it from me guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Bye!